Hey guys, let's get started on today's recipe. Today we are making pourable pizza. This is a recipe I've seen over the years. I've always been curious to try it. A lot of people make it in a large cast iron skillet. I don't have a large cast iron skillet, so I'm going to be trying it in a 9x13 glass pan, and we're going to see if that works out. There's only a few ingredients, and you start by making the batter, and then you add your meat toppings and you put it in the oven at 425 for 10 minutes. And then you take it out, you add your sauce, your cheese, whatever other toppings you choose to use, and put it back in the oven for anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes. So we're going to get started on the batter, which calls for 2 eggs, 2/3 cup of milk, cup of flour, and also a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. I don't have Italian seasoning, so I'm going to be using oregano today. So let's get started. Okay, so starting on the pourable crust, which is supposed to end up being the consistency of pancake batter. I added my 1 cup of all-purpose flour. I don't know if you could use regular flour. The recipe I read calls for all-purpose. I'm using 2 eggs, and then I'm going to be adding my oregano. It does call for the Italian seasoning. That's the only thing I didn't have, so I'm using a teaspoon of oregano. Then I'm also going to use 1 teaspoon of salt. In the back there, you can see the other ingredients I'm using besides the sausage. I have some pepperoni, and I have diced up jalapenos. It's a fresh jalapeno, and I also sliced up some purple onion. So we're going to get all these ingredients in, and we're going to mix it up and see how this batter looks. So here I'm just getting the pourable crust into the pan, and it really was like a very thin pancake batter. So you can see here I'm just moving it around. It was pretty easy to get it as even as possible in your pan. The next step in the recipe is to add any type of meat you might be using. I'm going to use sausage and pepperoni. I have here 1/2 pound of Italian sausage. I've cooked this and drained it. I did cook it all the way through, even though it's going into a 425-degree oven. I don't know if I mentioned the temperature at the beginning. This pizza is to cook at 425 degrees. I'm going to add all my sausage now. I'm going to put it on the whole pizza. Then I'm going to put on pepperoni, I think on half of it. Then it'll go in the oven for the 10 minutes. We'll take it out, and it'll be time to put our other toppings on. Here it is after 10 minutes in the oven at 425. Now it's time to start adding our other ingredients. This is the pizza sauce that I used. I only had one of these small cans left, so I did add 1/2 can of regular tomato sauce, and I added a little bit of oregano and garlic powder just to give it a little more flavor, since I did add some of that plain tomato sauce. I started adding the sauce and I used almost that whole bowl. I was wondering if it was going to be too much. I like a lot of sauce on my pizza, but with the way the crust was, I just wasn't sure. Well, you'll see how it turned out. Anyway, I added just a little bit of Parmesan cheese, just the kind from the jar, because I didn't feel like taking out a whole brick at this point to grate, so I added a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Next, I'm going to add some mozzarella. I ended up using this whole bag. I put a little bit on, then I layered my onions and my jalapenos, and I did put a little more cheese on top of that. So for this 9x13 pan, I used the whole bag of the shredded mozzarella cheese. At this point, I had the jalapenos and the onions on. I added more of the mozzarella cheese. The only thing I forgot was to add extra oregano. So once it was in the oven, I did add some oregano while it was baking. Here's how it looked when it was done. It took 14 minutes for mine to cook at 425. So now I'm letting it cool, and then I'm going to show you when I cut it up and give it a taste. As I was cutting it, I could already tell the crust was softer than I had hoped it would be, and it was a little bit floppy when I put it on my plate. So here's what the bottom looked like. It didn't look very appealing, and I still had to give it a taste test though. So I started with that little crunchy edge because that looked like it would be the best. And then I went in for the middle. I had to get a knife to cut it. I guess I could have picked it up, but you can see here it was pretty soggy and kind of falling apart. So overall, tell me what you guys think. Do you think this was a fail? I'm not really going to call it a fail because it tasted good. I thought it tasted good. Everybody else who tried it thought it tasted good. The crust was just a little bit too soft, and I'm sure that's because I did it in this 9x13 glass pan instead of a cast iron skillet. If I do ever pick up a larger cast iron skillet, this will be one of the first things I try in it because the flavors were all there, and it does look really pretty on the top, I think. So anyway, guys, thanks for coming along on this experiment with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed, please do. I'd love to have you around. And thanks again for watching, you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.